Hey guys, Sasha here, and my special guest is Jessica Laed, and she is this amazing expert dating coach, which is why I had to introduce her to you guys.
Well, thank you so much for the amazing introduction.
You're welcome. And so, one of the things that I found is that when I've been in a really good mental place, I could see that in my relationships. I could see that, I had boundaries. I could see that I had a voice. And
Mm,
a lot of that had to do with me having self love for myself.
mm,
And so, when you think about having self love in a
right.
relationship, what comes to mind?
For me, what comes to mind is self-awareness,
Mm,
and to kind of expand on that further, it's self-awareness without judgment of what I find.
mm,
And it's understanding my vulnerabilities, my strengths, my weaknesses, and owning it confidently.
yeah,
So I feel like a lot of people don't know what they're even looking for in another person, and that's how they end up in situationships or relationships that aren't to their liking or that are
yeah,
abusive and toxic, or they feel like I've lost myself. But the question is, did you really know yourself to begin with? Because
yeah.
if you do, you would know what boundaries you needed. And I say this gently. You would know what boundaries you needed to implement before you allow yourself to get lost in another person.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense to me because I often have people come in here and they tell me, listen, I want to be able to be in a healthy relationship,
Mm.
but I don't want to get lost in that relationship. I feel like I lose who I am the moment I'm in a relationship.
Okay,
I hear that all the time.
see, now that is a beautiful point because that person, without even knowing it, just revealed that they have self-awareness.
Mm,
They know that they're able to lose themselves. So when you know that that is one of your vulnerabilities or one of your weaknesses,
yeah,
that's an area that you can work on.
yeah,
And how do you work on it? How do you embody more self-love? Unfortunately, the answer might not be one that a lot of people want to accept, but it's through going through relationships. And a lot of
mm,
the times it's experiencing relationships that are uncomfortable, that
yeah,
bring up things that we don't want to look at.
yeah. It makes total sense to me because, I found that I've learned the most when I've had to experience the toughest situations. Oh man,
See, why does pain have to be the catalyst? It's the answer we don't want,
I know.
but it's the truth.
It
you
is.
know
It
so
is.
we don't want to make it too heavy, but we still want to be honest
Yeah.
and say that pain tends to be the catalyst. But that doesn't mean all your relationships that you have a clash in
Yeah.
need to necessarily drain you and be painful. It's about being a student of life and your relationships,
Yeah.
and that's how you learn self-love. You have to be a student of yourself and get really, really curious. We can expand on that. How do I love myself, for example, right? I have accepted that I am probably one of the most sensitive people you will ever meet. Okay? With my friends, with relationships, with family, I am a total sentimental sap. But I've tried so many times to be the opposite of that because I thought that that's going to make me more desirable. But then that just comes off as fake and ingenuine,
Yes.
right?
And you have to be true to yourself. Like it's okay
Exactly.
to be a
Yes,
certain way. Yes, totally.
exactly. So I think that people need to understand what their strengths are and what would be their
Yes.
perceived weaknesses by other people. I'm just saying my weakness is sensitivity, not because it's a universal weakness, not because other people are like, oh, it's weak to be sensitive, but because in my relationships in particular, dating is subjective, right? In my particular relationships, my sensitivity and the way I handled it got the best of me. I
Mm,
became overly emotional when
yeah.
I shouldn't have, or it wasn't appropriate, and I wasn't able to stop and actually think of a solution and then process my emotions later.
Yeah.
So I think, again, self love, back to the core, is really understanding what makes you irreplaceable, what your strengths are in a relationship, what your strengths are when you're alone, and
Yeah.
what your weaknesses are, or things that you can strengthen,
Yeah.
essentially.
That self-awareness is so, so important. When you don't have it, you can't change things. You must have self-awareness to be able to change anything. And
100%.
without it, nothing is possible.
But you can't shame yourself. If something comes up that you don't like, oh shit, I tend to be really clingy or needy,
Yeah.
or I'm just really, really shy. That's okay. Just be patient and gentle with yourself and laugh about it.
Yes.
Kind of talk yourself into comfort the way you would a good friend. Like if this one were to come up to me and be like, "Oh, I'm uncomfortable kind of being open about certain things in relationships."
Yeah.
right? I'd be like, that's okay. There's no shame in that. Take your time, and
Yes.
eventually you'll open up.
Because when you think about it, everything is a process.
Exactly. You were just telling me this earlier.
Yeah, it's like everything is a process. And a lot of times we have these ideas that things should be a certain way, but that's a bunch of BS. You know, our minds make up those ideas. And so, you know, self awareness and self love truly is a process. And the most important thing is that you just do the work.
The work. That's a good point.
Yeah, you just got to do the work. And when you do the work, you're in such a much better place that it's so much easier to have those boundaries, to know like what you want, what you're expecting in a partner, to make sure that you're in the right relationship. It makes a world of a difference.
I want to expound on the work for a second,
Yeah.
though. A lot of people say, I need to do the work and engage in self love. And most people say, what is the work? Is it going to the gym and working out? Is it, eating well? I mean, those are all great things to make you a well rounded person, right? But the work in terms of a relationship, you're not fighting with your partner because you didn't go to the gym enough. You're not, well, if they're shallow and they say, hey, you're getting a little fat there. But the point is, the work is really self reflection.
Yeah.
Whether that's through therapy or that's through life coaching with yours truly, or whatever that's through, it's questioning, why did I get into the same relationship
Yes.
multiple times? I must be the common denominator. Let me look at myself and think of how I can change this. I'm sorry, you can't be lazy if you want a good relationship.
Yeah, totally.
It's true.
You have to put in the work and you have to understand, like, wait, let's say you're somebody who just got out of a bad relationship. You have to start thinking, like, why did I get myself in that relationship?
Yeah.
Because we do things. Basic rule, you either do something or don't do it for a reason. And sometimes you have to have that introspection so that you can figure out, who you are, your flaws, your patterns. And it's only that way that you can really set yourself up for having a better future relationship.
She's right, because you know what happens if you don't do that? What happens is, I want all of these qualities in a person, the list, like this long, right?
Yeah.
Okay? And how come I can't find it? Or if I do, why can't I keep it? Well, do you embody those qualities?
Yeah.
Right? And so how would you even get there? Self-reflection, self-awareness, self-love.
Yeah. And otherwise, too, it's like you might catch yourself, doing the same patterns over and over again, which is what our minds love. Our minds love patterns. So, yeah. So, self-awareness, guys, self-love, the combination.
100%.
You've got to have it if you want to be in a healthy relationship.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much
You're
for spending
welcome.
time with us today. And we look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Wonderful.
And for more information for Jessica, I'm going to go ahead and put her information below so you can reach out with her, especially if you are in the market for an amazing dating coach. All right, guys, bye for now.